Gina's Kitchen, courtesy of Epicenter. Make sure you follow us and like us on social media. Today, we are gonna do a different project than last week. This time, you're gonna get to use one of our favorites, cafecito, a little bit of coffee. It doesn't have anything. Anyways, we're gonna get started right away. So get your cup of coffee. Let's find some brushes, a little pencil paper, and we're gonna make something that's gonna smell delicious all the time. Today, we work with instant coffee. A couple of quick recommendations for this process. Don't leave your brush unwashed, especially not in the consistency, because this is gonna start to dry up and you want it to dry up so you can use it kind of like watercolors. All right, let's go. All right, we are ready to get started. I have my watercolor paper here. I've already started to do a little bit of a drawing, pencil, eraser. You may or may not want to use a ruler depending on what you want to render. A couple of brushes, make sure that they are clean, that they have no paint or other residue to contaminate the stains that we're going to work on today. We are going to do 2 little experiments today, and then we should be able to have a very intense, flavorful, and aromatic piece of project today. So let me show you 2 things that can happen. I understand that you probably are thinking, what if I use ground coffee for my experiment, for my little project? Well, let's do that first. Let's do the experiment with coffee so you can see what happens. It's ground, it's solid, it's coarse, and notice how I'm using my finger to illustrate how it looks. It's probably not going to give you much of a stain, so you can do a little test if you like, but I tried it already and it will leave all of these pebbles of like ground coffee on your paper, so it's not going to be significant when it comes to the actual process. In order to get this result, what we need to do really is use a little bit of water. We're going to use instant coffee, and we're gonna make a little mixture. We're not gonna do a lot of it. We're just gonna use 1 tablespoon, or teaspoon rather. We're gonna put it right here, and there we are going to add a little bit of water. I'm actually gonna use the spoon again because we really don't need a lot of water. I think just a couple of drops. Look how it starts to dissolve. I'm gonna hold off on more water. I'm gonna be super conservative about it because what we're trying to do is to make sure that this is gonna behave like paint. So we're gonna mix it, and we need it to be super dense, super dense, because this will be our most intense hue, most intense brown color, and then we can always dilute more of this brown color when we add more water. I think it needs more water now. Notice how I'm using the back of the brush also to mix the instant coffee, another few drops of water, and it's going to become very tacky, and you want that. You want to make sure that it definitely becomes a mass. If it became like candy almost, it will be good. You want that. All right, so it's pretty intense right now, pretty dark. I have these balls of coffee that I can try to dissolve. I'm not super interested in doing that just now because I really need this thick consistency right now that you see here happening. And with this, I'm just gonna leave it along there. I need it to be super intense. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add water on another little space on my palette, my pretend palette really, because if you notice, this is actually a container from salad. So those of us who eat salads, you probably recognize the container. If you don't have this container, of course, you can always use a lid from another container. What we're gonna try to do is we're gonna try to fill in some areas of our drawing with the dark tones, medium tones, and some super light areas. And for that, you need more water, less pigment. I'm calling the brown, this brown paint is actually a stain, but it will behave like paint. I have my drawing here that I started. Clearly we can go ahead and draw some more things in here. You can draw whatever you want. I'm super fast when it comes to rendering, so I'm just gonna do some of that, some of these organic leaves that I got going on. If you went too far like I did, you can always erase some of those minor lines that might not add to the rather quick composition. What we're gonna do next is we're gonna start coloring in these empty spaces. So I have this water on the brush, and I'm going to dip my brush. I actually like the other brush better. So notice what I'm doing here. Just swirl, 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 and it's gonna get a little frothy to a certain extent. So let's just test it out. It's pretty intense. Let's bring it in here and fill in that shape. Fill in this shape with this dark consistency. I actually like the other brush better. You can do a couple of spots. Fill in the spots, fill in the area. Lovely, gently, just like so. And then I'm gonna go ahead and dilute what I have on the brush, this other container, and this will be super light. This also counts as a stain. So again, overloaded brush, remove some of the extra, put it in here, and it works just fine to add a little bit of stain. And just like that. So I have the lightest light, and then I have a medium tone, and then I really need to let it sit for a while so I can get a dark, see, there it is. Yes, we're getting this intense brown, so cool. So you don't want this like actual bubbles of coffee. If this is happening, it's because we haven't diluted it completely, which can happen, you know, just need to do a little bit more work. All right, and this is it, friends. You just go at it and continue to fill in those empty shapes, fill in really beautifully, and that will be it. And at the end, you will end up with something like this. Again, dark tones, medium tones, super light, super light. It doesn't look like it, but it does have a little bit of the brown coffee stain, and this is essentially your project for this week, staining with coffee. Thank you so much for following along. Do finish your project and share it with us. It is all kinds of fun. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, make sure you finish your project, of course. Next week, we're gonna continue to stain. You can stain with tea, of course, tea. You could also stain with soy sauce, and one of my favorites, with turmeric. So next week, one of these items will make a guest appearance, and we will continue with part 2 of staining with something from your pantry. Thank you so much for stopping by. Again, this was Cristina. Thank you to Epicenter for bringing art to your home. See you next week. Bye.